An apple tree in front of my half-sister's house disappeared suddenly. This is a possible paranormal event? Let me just start this off by saying that in our culture, apple trees are said to be cursed and a home for children who died young but weren't baptized, aborted babies, and women who were killed or died while pregnant. It is said that if you pick an apple or of a leaf off the tree, you're gonna have bad luck or die. Now, many deaths that happened in that old village in Bosnia my half-sister lives in, so it would be no surprise that elder said that the tree was cursed and that kids should not eat the apples on that tree because apparently, in the 30s, a pregnant woman died of blood loss while giving birth under that tree. It was common for women to give birth under trees in that village, and it is not a myth because her grave could actually be found in the graveyard, and some of her family members are still alive. Anyways, me and my niece, as the foolish kids we are, shook the tree until a bunch of apples fell down and put them inside of a bucket, ate a couple, then threw the rest into the lake near my half-sister's house for shits and giggles. Around 1 month earlier, I came back to the village for my half-brother's wedding and saw that the tree was gone. I asked my sis about it, but all I heard from her was, there was never a tree there. I was legit so creeped out, and still am. The strange nature of the storm has been eating away at me. In either late May or early June of 2014, a huge, nasty storm passed through my Midwestern town. There was some of the usual damage. Some trees were uprooted, some of the softball dugouts were collapsed, and some of the roofs were damaged. All in all, it just seemed like a usual nasty Midwestern storm. But there were some strange things that happened that can't quite be explained. Things I still lose sleep over. My phone gave me a weather alert at 1 a.m. About the same time, my mom ran upstairs and told me to come into the basement with her. I gathered both of my cats, who were struggling to get away from me, and we ran into the laundry room in the basement, the only completely subterranean room in our home, and shut ourselves inside. The cats were bright-eyed, mouthy, and tried really hard to get out of the room, but we would not let them, as it's the only room in our house that is safe sure from tornadoes. That's not abnormal coming from them, but what started to happen next was extremely abnormal. We could hear the wind rattling the house and whistling, but I also began to hear whispers, like human whispers. I couldn't make out the words I heard. It was like being half asleep and hearing people murmuring in the next room, but I was wide awake. The whispers were louder than the wind. I asked my mom if she heard them too, and she immediately just replied, "It's the wind. Don't talk like that." I knew she heard them too, just judging by the look on her face. These whispers continued, and I heard a loud crack just outside of our house. The cats were losing their shits at this point, begging to be let outside, but I wasn't about to do that. Mom wanted to go check on it, but I kept her in the laundry room with me. Something felt extremely wrong about the noise in which we heard. The whispers went away after this cracking noise. Their absence was somehow more terrifying to me than the actual presence of them was. The cats darted into the space between the dryer and the set of shelves next to it and just cowered. We would fall asleep around 3 a.m. in the basement when the worst had subsided. When my mom woke up around 6:30 and went upstairs to make coffee, she ran back downstairs and woke me up. I groggily wandered upstairs with her, where she pointed out something that was inherently wrong. Every tree that was right next to the street, ranging from birch saplings to a 150-year-old oak tree, had been snapped in two directly in the middle of the tree, with their tops all hanging in the same direction. Trees that were away from the street, like the dwarf crab apple tree, about 10 feet away from my house, and my neighbor's 30-year-old Japanese maple were unaffected, albeit missing a few leaves, and some dangling branches from the wind. But any tree within about 5 to 10 feet of the street had been snapped like a toothpick, and just on my street. I explored my whole neighborhood, and no other street had experienced this. I, I have no idea what could have caused it. I don't know if the whispers were just the wind coming in through the cracks of my house at a weird angle. I researched downbursts and straight line winds and other weather phenomenon for the past year and a half or so, but they haven't explained anything about what could have happened. Nothing fits until the broken trees were cleared away. I couldn't go on the street without a horribly bad feeling. I can't help but wonder if we experienced something paranormal at all. The Midwestern seems to attract this sort of thing as is. Does anyone have any ideas of what I might have experienced? It can be scientific, paranormal, anything. Thank you so much. Trees in my family garden that has fallen exactly after 24 hours of my uncle's death. Good morning, Redditors. This is my first post here. Although I am a big fan of this subreddit for a few years, I decided to share a story about quite strange event that happened yesterday. This is gonna be long, but I'll add like a TLDR at the end or something. Okay, let me tell you something about my family first as a background to my post. Since I remember, I'm 23 years old now. People from my family, especially my mom relatives, strongly believed in the afterlife. Almost every family dinner ended with stories about ghosts of our ancestors, our neighbors, friends, etc. For example, my grandma used to recount about her seeing some strange black being, like made of smoke, right after she got the information about her parents' death. She was sitting on bed, with her hands covering her teary eyes, when she felt that something is sitting right next to her. And then when she saw that thing, that had a human shape, and also was sitting on her bed in similar position, with face covered with hands, she panicked and started shouting at it, "Go away!" It disappeared immediately. But the most mysterious thing about my family, and the place I lived for like 20 years, was an old dresser that my grandma bought when she was 30. Sometimes the door to this dresser used to open and close randomly, just by itself. But that does not sound any strange at all when compared to the fact that, to this day, no matter when that dresser is placed, once for a few days there is a loud knock coming from it. It sounds like literally there is someone behind it that is hitting the back of it with clenched fists. We were trying many things to get rid of it, cause it was creeping us out. We were moving this dresser from one place in the home to another with no difference at all. We even tried to place this thing in the center of the living room so the back of it will be visible to us all the time. It changed nothing. We were hearing these stories even when there was nothing and no one standing right to this dresser. So we gave up, and to this day, when I'm coming to this home, these loud bang sounds sometimes takes place. But personally, I never seen a ghost or any strange creature. Except when I was in primary school. I thought that for less than a second. I saw a young man in suit standing in the doorway of my room. At first I thought, this is my imagination. But a few months later, when we were cleaning our attic, I saw an old photo in the frames of a man in suit, and this person looked exactly like the young man I saw that day. My grandma said it was her father, and that's all. Nothing strange happened to me after or before that. From all the members of my family, one of my uncles seemed to be extremely sensitive about that other world events. He survived clinical death, but never wanted to talk about it. Except saying that he met his beloved grandparents that told him it's not the time for him to die, and that he was definitely not pleased that he had to come back to this life because it was so much better there. He had a few blackouts when he was seeing his grandparents talking to him. He had lots of dreams when he met our dead cousins, neighbors, friends, relatives, etc. And some of them mentioned that the life after death is definitely better, but for some reason some of them has to work on something. We never knew what that meant by that. There is more stories from, like, let's say, my extremely sensitive family, so if anyone want to read more, I'll make a few more posts, but let me skip to the point. 2 days ago, Thursday, between 2 and 3 p.m., the uncle that I wrote before died in the hospital because of leukemia. I was trying to comfort my family by reminding them about what he was saying about afterlife and about his experience with clinical death, and I used to say that we shouldn't be crying over our loved one's death because it caused them a lot of pain. I also tried to reduce my thoughts of him, but I couldn't fight with the thought that there is no way he would not do something extraordinary. And I was not wrong. Today I came to visit my family, to help them cope with all that situation, and when I was walking through our garden, I saw the apple tree I used to climb when I was little is lying on the ground. When I entered the house, the first thing they said was if I saw what happened to that apple tree, because yesterday, right after 2 p.m., and 24 hours exactly after my uncle's death, it just fell on the ground. What is strange about it is that there is no way the wind could do it. I took photos, and there is a concrete wall on the side, so there was no way wind could push from that direction. Also, the roots from the trees look strange. It looks like they were cut or something. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. That particular tree seemed too strong to be knocked over by just a single person, though. I'm going to visit this place on Tuesday, so if any of you have any idea what could it possibly be, I can post photos or something. Anyways, sorry for my English.